My name is Caleb Dragosavic, one of the founders of ASTIT Cooling and Heating. I was introduced to heating and air conditioning as a diesel mechanic in the Marine Corps. We had to make sure that the trucks had air conditioning. When I got out of the military, one of my friends sent me a picture of his 2-week paycheck, and it was more than I was making in a whole month as a diesel technician. And I, kind of like the Wolf of Wall Street, said, if you get me an interview, I'll leave my job right now, today. And I drove from Upland to Garden Grove. They hired me on the spot, and he trained me from there. I rode with Charles for about 3 or 4 weeks, learning everything heating and air conditioning, from sequence of operation to building options, offering financing, and that's where I kind of got my start at heating air conditioning. One of my buddies, Alex, we ended up hiring him as a technician, so we were kind of working hand in hand. And it got to the point where the company was like, Caleb, these are all great ideas, and we appreciate the passion, but this is our company, not yours. And they ended up letting me go. Alex followed me shortly after. We kind of decided at that point we should pursue starting a company. We saw a lot of the challenges that the industry faced, with a big one being the private equity companies. They look at the customers in a home like a dollar sign, and they're not actually wanting to help anybody or serve them. They want everybody to be actors, not educators. And that's exactly who Alex and I were. We were educators first and foremost. We're technicians first. And it just got to a certain point where we're like, I think we're ready. Alex is a 3rd generation heating and air conditioning technician. It's always kind of been his goal and his passion to start his own company like his father and his grandfather did. I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur ever since I was a little kid. I started a company called Caleb's Helping Service when I was 8 years old, walking dogs, washing cars. I was in Pennsylvania, so there's pine cones. You got to pick them up so you don't ruin the mower. I've always just kind of had that drive. I think it was a good partnership. I have a lot of the business and marketing and creative mind. He has a lot of the technical and real world application knowledge. So I handled all the business side of things, and Alex, he ended up getting the license. So we started the company in 2022. Obviously started working on the weekends and after work, after hours, any chance we got, really, until it made sense for Alex to go full-time. And I was a technician working for other companies, just kind of answering the phones, answering leads, supporting the back end of the business. But that's where we got a lot of our growth. And I ended up leaving and going full-time. I can't even count the number of people that found me or reached out to me on LinkedIn or Instagram, or maybe they even had my old business card and I wrote down my personal phone number for some reason, which I never used to give out. But that's how we grew this. They were like, where did you go, Caleb? We were at the company because of you, not necessarily the company itself. And just through that, I took care of those people. You know, I treat everybody like a tree. Every person and every relationship that I make, everybody, they're the trunk of a tree. And how many branches of people do they know? And then that starts a new tree. It's just, from there, it's exponential growth. He's great. One of our cheapest customers has probably given me more referral work than he could ever spend with me. It doesn't matter if they're going to spend money with you or not. Treat everybody the same. You take care of them, and it'll come back to you. We obviously came up with a couple different ideas for the name. Calex, mixing our first names, and we're using our last name. We landed on Thumbs Up Heating and Air, but I had read Dan Antonelli's book. He's from Kick Charge, Branded Not Blanded, and I read that, and dealing with all of the Fiverr graphic designers, we just felt like nothing was aligning, and so we spoke with Dan, and they ended up completely shifting and rebranding. They created the name for us. They gave us a list to choose from, and we felt ASTIT really aligned with who we were and the expectations that we're trying to set. And so a really cool thing about being part of Kick Charge is they not only created the name for us, they created the logo. They helped us get into connection with a company to help trademark the name and the logo so that we're protected. They helped with the uniforms, colors, everything that you would want in a brand. Now they even have marketing and website services. Sky's the limit, really, with Kick Charge. Shout out to Dan. Again, we're educators by nature. We're technicians, and ASTIT means 100%. You aced a test. There's no compromise. There's no shortcuts. There's doing it right or don't do it at all. So that's really at the core what we try to achieve with ASTIT. And it's not possible. Nobody can get to be perfect. Nobody's perfect. But that's the drive that we have in everything that we do. Strive for perfection. My passion comes from a lot of different places. I think inherently I was born with it. When I was 8 years old, I started Caleb's Helping Service. I helped neighbors wash their cars, walk their dogs, mow their lawns. In Pennsylvania, we had to pick up pine cones so they didn't ruin the blades of the mowers, so I picked up pine cones. We had this older gentleman who just needed some help, and so my mom would actually make meals and I would deliver it to him. His name was Mr. Yerger. Still remember him to this day. His favorite thing was burgers that my mom made, and me and my sister called him Mr. Yerger Burger. So just stories like that, and just having the Caleb's helping service. I want to help people at the root of it. A lot of that foundation is from my dad and what he instilled into me as a young kid. You show up on time, you show up early, you do a good job, you do what you say you're going to do. I think that only was enhanced when I joined the military. I was a U.S. Marine. There are certain things and standards that you have to abide by to be a Marine. So I bring a lot of that kind of military structure and passion into everything that we do. We have checklists, we have procedures, we have processes. I would say the last portion of where my passion comes from is the fight against these predatory private equity companies. There's a lot of people talking about it, and it's real. They go in and they buy up small family-owned companies. They either rebrand or they leave the branding as is, and to the public they may seem like they're still a small family-owned company, but they're really backed by private equity investors. And I don't think that that's a bad thing. I just think the implementation is done wrong. They pay their technicians on their performance. They don't pay them to fix things, obviously, because that doesn't pay the bills. And I think that without the right care and the right process and intent breeds dishonesty. It breeds people pushing ultimatums on people so that they can make a paycheck. The last part of where my passion comes from is really the companies that I worked for in the past. I early on learned that the way that I was taught initially wasn't really in the best interest for the customer. I didn't know how to fix anything. They just wanted me to turn over and to sell. I was pretty good at it. I bounced around to a couple companies that, I realized they weren't the right fit for me until I found some companies that actually cared and did what was right. One of the last companies I worked for, and a story that I tell a lot of my customers, there's these companies out there that they claim to be your friends, claim to be your family, and they'll treat you the same way. Went out to a call, and I think it needed an inducer motor. The unit looked horrible. Wasn't installed up to code. There was rodent issues in the attic all over. So it needed some love for sure. And the supervisor just showed up with no announcement. I didn't call him out, and he just showed up and just basically started trying to hard sell this customer on a replacement. They're like, yeah, we totally get it. We don't disagree. We just repiped our whole house. It's not in the cards right now. So if you guys can fix it, I think we can work something out later. But even then, you could tell when he showed up, their body language changed. Their tone changed. They were uncomfortable. It was like somebody being forced into something. Eventually, he set the appointment and left, and I was cleaning up, putting everything back together, and said, do you guys really want him to come back? Is that what you want to do? And they just had a sigh of relief. No, we really don't. Like, if you can fix it, that's really what we would want to do. We're so financially strapped that we can't afford to do that right now. We're financing the repipe, whatever you can do. And so I was like, great, good to go. Here's your option. They agreed, they signed. I called dispatch on my way out. Hey, I got to order these parts. I'll come back tomorrow. And then the dispatcher said, yeah, no, I don't like that. No, we don't fix 20-year-old units. And that right there, I had some choice words, not so friendly to her and to the general manager, and I quit that day. It was like 11 o'clock in the morning. I turned in the truck, and I let the customer know, hey, this is what they're wanting to do, and I'd advise you calling somebody else. It's stories like that and stories that we still encounter where these big private equity companies come out and say that this unit can't be fixed. It has to be replaced. Oh, that refrigerant's banned or it's phased out. They're saying that now with R410A, which is not banned. It's not illegal. It's being phased out. There's a difference. And so that's really our story. If somebody comes out and says you have to replace it, call Aced It. We will come out and give you all of your options, not ultimatums, and let you decide what is best for you and your family. I think the hardest thing is just, especially with how we are creating Aced It, is finding those people and the technicians that really have the customer's best interest at heart. So these customers, they go online, they have about 1,000 companies that they could choose from, and they chose us. So it's our job to go out and to serve those customers, educate them on all their problems, give them their options, and then let them decide what is right for them and their family. It's tough because it costs a lot of money to get out to the door. It costs a lot of money to get these leads. Because we're looking out for the customer's best interest and giving them their options, sometimes that results in, it's just a dirty filter. But it's satisfying in a way because I now have a customer for life. And that's how we've created Aced It, because of how I took care of them. And that's how we're taking care of their people that they refer, and their referrals and their referrals and their referrals. That's what we're willing to do here at Aced It. It's the long-term gameplay. And if you think back when you were just getting your driver's license or you're just starting out your first car, me personally, has there been a time in my life where I got a nail in my tire and I could only air up the tire for weeks? Yes. Was there a time that I could do a DIY patch? Yes. Is there a time where I could only afford to use tires? Yes. Have there been times where I've been able to replace all 4 tires? Yes. And so that's what really reframed it in my mind of why giving options to a customer is important. Just because they choose the lowest option does not mean that they are being cheap or they don't value what we do. We just don't know what their financial situation is. I don't know where they are in their life. I don't know what other things that they're dealing with. And it's not my decision to say, this is what you have to do. It's my job and our technician's job to give them all of their options, let them decide what's best for them and their family. The one thing that has helped stabilize and grow this business is the training, and it's really just building that foundation, getting the right guys, getting the right technicians, getting the right people within the business that are really out to serve. One of the trainings that has helped me is also with Joe Crusair's the Service MVP training. It's about leadership, and it's really just being a better communicator while also holding people accountable. What I love most about my job is talking to people. I got to get free advice. People were lawyers or real estate agents or investors. And again, I was being a sponge with all of my customers and building relationships. Now, as more on the back end of the business, I'm really enjoying being the creative mind behind it and implementing new things and processes. So definitely something people don't see is me. I'm guilty of it. As a technician, I would look at the owners. I'm like, man, they're making a ton of money. And the reality is all that money gets reinvested back into the company so that we can continue to grow and to build. What you don't realize is especially as a small company, that I don't have any investors. I didn't have a whole bunch of savings. We built this from the ground up. I'm attached to my phone 24/7. A lead comes in, you have to respond immediately, and you have to follow up, and you have to follow up. And so that's been the hardest thing, is that sacrifice. I mean, I have 3 kids, I have a wife, and I'm always on my phone doing something, answering technicians' calls, helping them diagnose, helping them troubleshoot, answering new leads, talking with previous customers. It's just one of the hardest things that people don't see looking from the outside in. What I'm most proud of is the number of reviews that we have on Google and Yelp and Nextdoor. There's companies that have been around 15, 20 years that don't even have this many reviews. So I think that really stands out in what we're trying to do and achieve, and providing that 5-star level of customer service. So homeowners should care about choosing the right HVAC company, because this is one of the most expensive appliances in your house. It's gonna last 15 to 20 years if it's done properly and if you maintain it. Choosing a company that's going to be there to stand behind it and actually give you warranties and guarantees really is important. They don't make things like they used to. Making sure that these systems are properly installed and they're maintained and they're designed properly and they have all the right airflow, all of that matters. And that's just not something that the unlicensed guys or the really low cost guys are doing. They're just changing boxes. They want to get the quick money. It's cheap, it's quick. But on the other hand, the big companies really aren't doing that either, because they're just looking at the numbers. They also want to just change the boxes. Nobody's really looking at a heating and air conditioning system and being like, wow, we need to optimize this and we need to get it more airflow so that it will last and perform and actually hit the yellow label Energy Star rating. And that's what we do at A-State. We take the time to make sure that the design is right, as well as the installation, and it's backed by really solid manufacturers with good warranties. A company like us that is doing all those things, we are not cheap, but I'm not inflated either. We're kind of middle of the road as far as pricing, but the value that you get for the money that you spend, it cannot be beat. My name is Caleb, and that is my story. If you are a technician that can't seem to find a company that aligns with you, we may be a good fit. And if you're a homeowner that's experienced really low quality work, or you've experienced the private equity companies that just want to try to sell you new systems, we'd also love the opportunity to serve you and show you what a real heating and air conditioning company is, where we do offer that 5-star level of service. We do care, and we give you your options and let you choose what is best for you and your family. So if you are anywhere in Southern California, Riverside County, Orange County, give us a call. So we're going to put a booking link in the description below. You can click that, book an appointment. You can always give us a call. Everything's on our website as well. We would really appreciate the opportunity to serve you. Thanks for watching.